Welcome to episode number 17 of Meet the GIMP. My name is Rolf Steinort and I'm recording this in Bremen, northern Germany. The new focus ring episode is out. It's a roundtable talk between hosts of the Photocast Network podcasts. And this time there were Chris Marquardt from Tips from the Top Floor, Martin Bailey from Martin Bailey Photography Podcast, and Ibanorex Pirello from The Candid Frame, and me. And we discussed about an hour a lot of stuff around photography. I found it interesting while I talked with the guys, and perhaps you'll like it too. The link is in the blog meetthegimp.org. There's one thing else new on Meet the GIMP. First, I have a subscriber counter. Today it's 812. The highest count were 1010, but today is Sunday, 28th of October, and on Sundays the subscriber count goes down, so I expect it will go up in the next days again. And Meet the GIMP is now on BitTorrent. Marcin, a guy from Poland and now in the UK, gave me access to a server where I can put all the files and have them available for BitTorrent. Basically a host for seeding all the files. And when I click here, I would get open a directory of these files where you can download them. I don't do that here live because there are sometimes a bit scantily clad women here on the left side in the advertisements to get the Pirate Bay running. And don't be afraid from the name. The Pirate Bay is, at least in Sweden, strictly legal, and of course sharing these files, my files, is perfectly legal. First, I am the copyright holder and I can share them, and second, all the stuff here is under Creative Commons license. You can do nearly everything with them except saying that you have done them yourself. You can give them away, you can sample them on CDs, and even sell these CDs as long as you every time say that it is my work and that you make that work available under the same license. I want to show you a great resource, and that's gimp.org. Here is the new website from them, and if you go here to documentation and then here to the GIMP user manual, let's select English here, you get a very good and nearly complete manual about all the stuff that you need to know about the GIMP. They tackle the GIMP from two sides. One is what can you do with the GIMP, for example here enhancing photographs, and the other side is how do the tools work here. For example, what we'll do today, how do I make a selection? And let's start with doing that. This episode is called Selections, and behind that a big 1, because selecting is such a big thing, I can't cover all the stuff in one episode here. Let's start with this image here. And today I don't want to really work with this image, but only to use it as an example. Before we really start to work with selections, I think you have to understand at least a bit about what selections really are. This here is a selection, and this is outside of the selection. That's simple, isn't it? This marching ants here, this moving line, is the border of the selection. The GIMP people call a selection a channel. A channel like red, green or blue, or alpha channel, which controls the transparency. And here outside outside of the selection, the value of this channel is 0, and inside it's 255, and between them is this border, and between them there can be values lower than 255 and higher than 0, and I'll cover that in a moment. So keep in mind, changing a selection or making a selection is changing some numbers. And now I'll look into how you can make a selection. Let's start with how can you get rid of a selection. First way would be select none. And here is also the key code for that, Shift, Control and A. With that key combination you can simply get rid of the selection. And now let's select, I have already selected the rectangle select tool, and look into the options dialog. On top there are 4 choices. This here is replace the current selection. Let's try that. I select this here, and now I select this here, and now I select this here, and every time the old selection is deleted. Now I go here to this option, and I have the option selected, add to the current selection. I can select this here, and this, and this, and even this, and get a quite complicated selection. And if I go to my color tabs here and just pull the color over to fill the selection, you see all the selected stuff is filled with that color. Also this here, which I had just selected and which is not connected to the rest of this form here. So adding something to a selection keeps the selection whole as one. It's one selection, even if there's no connection between the parts of the selection. Well, a bit complicated, was it? Okay, Control Z, I go back with my filling, and Shift Control A, deselect everything. Back to my options. I select the square here, and now I select subtract from the current selection. I select this here, nothing happens. I select this, and you see the edge is cut out. I select this here, and perhaps this here, and you see the frame stays there, and when I move this around here, I can change the selection. So the last thing you did, or the last selection you made, you can change, and until you you click into another place to get a new selection, you can change your work all the time here. You see that. Okay. And the last option, intersect with the current selection. Let's try that. I select this here, and all the stuff outside this rectangle, all the stuff that was selected, is forgotten, and only the selection in this rectangle is kept. But the stuff that wasn't selected in the rectangle is still not selected. And here I can also change this rectangle until I have the stuff selected that I wanted. Okay, you have 4 modes: replace, add, subtract, and intersect. Replace is just clicking. Add is click and shift. Let's try that. I press the shift key and I start here, and I press the shift key, and at the moment I have to tell you when I press the mouse key, I think. Now I press the Shift key, nothing happens. Now I press the mouse key and there comes a plus sign. And now I press the Control key, and now I press the mouse key and start to move. And there you have this minus sign. Again, Control key pressed, mouse moved, there's the mouse button pressed, and then start the movement. And last, Shift and Control together, and here you see this mathematical sign for well, intersection. I don't know the Schnittmenge, it's in the German. I don't know the English word at the moment. And here you've got this effect. It's easier to select the modes here in the dialog, but if you memorize these key combinations, you are a lot faster by selecting. And these key combinations work also with the other selection tools. You have to learn them only once. Okay, Shift Control A disables all the selections. I'm back to my normal mode. And now let's start with other stuff here. Feather edges. Then the dialog changes a bit and you get here a radius count. And I'll increase this a bit here. And now I select my area. And you see here there is a rounded corner. I don't want it rounded corners. That's here. And let me just show you what has happened with filling this with black. You see, when I zoom fully into the image, you see here is a black blob in the middle, and it fades out into the outside. And now I have lost the selection. Let me go back with Control Z. This line, these marching ants, they are running in between the real black and the original image. And here the value of the selection channel is 128. So it's the halfway of the selection. Half the selection fading is inside, half is outside. And this is important to keep in mind when you do a selection. The border, the marching ants, is only the real border of your selection when you have a hard selection, where the value drops from 255 to 0 in no time. Feathering is a nice option to get smooth selections, smooth borders, and for example for pasting in a different head in a group shot or something else. With a feathered selection you get a less sharp seam there, and you can get away easier with that. And for the technically minded, a feathered selection is nothing else but a Gaussian blur on the selection channel, and the radius I selected here is the radius of the Gaussian blur. Let me play with the next option. It's rounded corners. Rounded corners, well, it's a rectangle with rounded corners, and you can set the radius of the rounded corner here. So let's simply move that. Here is the round part, and these are the straight parts. An important option here is anti-aliasing. I don't know if I pronounced that right. This sets how the corner is painted afterwards. Let me show you. I just fill this here with black, and now I go back to my selection and selection tool, and I deselect anti-aliasing and select this one here, move it over so that we can compare these two corners. and I fill this also with black. Okay, let's select the zoom tool, deselect all selections, you remember, Shift Control A, and now I zoom into this area. And here you see, this is without anti-aliasing. Here you have either selection or not selection, filled with black or not filled. And here you see a stair of grays from here, and so the corner is smooth, and that's anti-aliasing. You don't get these jaggies here. This is not a rounded corner, this is a series of steps, but it's impossible to have a rounded corner when you work with pixels, with tiles. And here we have the visual impression of a rounded corner. And when I go back to 100% zoom, then at least at the monitor now I see here are jaggies. This is not smooth, but this is a smooth corner. I don't know what the video compression does with it, but with this, but you can easily try it for yourself. So if you want to have smooth corners, select anti-aliasing. If you want to have plain hard colors and don't want to have these gray tones in here, or in another way, then deselect that option. Okay, I reselect that, and let's look what else do we have here. Expand from center. Expand from center, let me unclick this here, is easy. You can start here, and not a very good idea, nobody knew where I started, so I put a blob there and I start pulling my selection from here, and you see it grows from that point, and this point is always in the middle of the selection. When I unselect that, I can pull the selection up here, and this is always the top left corner of my selection, or the top bottom left, or top right, or in which direction I pull my mouse. Okay, there is also a key code for that. Now when I click into the image here at the point and press Control, I have a selection from center, and if you look on the right side you see there expand from center. I now release the Control key, and you see the selection vanishes. I press it again, and here the hook is there again, and I have again selection from center. The difference for adding and subtracting and so is the moment when I press this key. When I press the key before I press the mouse button, now I am subtracting. I press the Control key and then the mouse button, and then I move the mouse, then I have a subtraction. But when I first press the mouse key and then the Control key, I get selection from center. The same is true for the next option here, fixed aspect ratio. I can have here pre-selected the 1:1 aspect ratio, and I can set now I can do a selection here, and it's always a square, and I can select here 2:3, for example. And now I've always got a selection 2:3, and switching to 3:2 in portrait mode and in landscape mode gives me such a selection. There's another way to create a perfect square, or with the next tool on the line with a perfect circle. Just start your selection, let's say here, and start to pull, and then press Shift. And now I get the fixed aspect ratio, and now not only a square but the pre-selected value here. And this is the fast way, so I can select something with aspect ratios that I want, and by just pressing Shift in the right moment I get 3:2. Another option is highlight. When I use that, all the stuff that isn't selected is gray, and all the stuff that is selected is white. And this concerns only the current selection. Okay, let's switch that off and look at the rest at the bottom here. You can set these values by hand, and if you click on Fix here, these aspects, these values stay there. I can't change the size of the selection here, but I can say, for example, I want to have this 2 pixels less and this 1 pixel more, and so fine-tune the selection. I can also move the selection here a little bit to the right, and you see here how it moves, and that's only the point of origin. When I fix this here, I can move the whole selection. So this is the point of origin, X and Y value of this left top point, and this is the width and height of the selection, and I can block this or release this with the Fix button. Then there is the guides. I can have a center line which shows me where the middle point or center point of the selection is. I can have the rule of thirds, an infamous photographic rule, and I can have the golden sections, or a more artistic rule, not so easily mathematically explained as the rule of thirds, but the rule of thirds is based on this here. On bottom is auto shrink selection. With shrink merged, I don't really know what this does. I have tried it a bit, but found no real use for it, and it's not in the documentation yet. Perhaps someone can update me on that. This merged is coming up in a lot of options, and it always means that it concerns all the layers, and if this is selected, the algorithm looks at all the layers, and if it's deselected, only at the layer that you're working on. So let's take a look again from top to bottom. Oh no, we'll recap that with the next tool, Shift Control A to deselect everything, and that is the ellipse selection. On top, the same stuff. Replace the current selection, add to the collection with Shift before clicking, and subtract with Control before clicking, and intersect with Shift and Control before clicking. Anti-aliasing is smooth edges again, more important with ellipses than with rectangles, because ellipses are round all the way. Feather edges, the same option as in the rectangle. Let me show you that here, and I'll fill this with black, and you see here you have a smooth gradient between black and white, and these marching ants and the border I have drawn is in the middle of the way between black and white, but the selection now overspills this value. Expand from center works the same also with the control key after clicking the mouse button. fixed aspect ratio just the same after clicking the mouse button. When you press that, you get a perfect circle here with aspect ratio 1:1. Let's come to the last tool I want to show you for today, and that's the free select tool, or the lasso. I select it, and it has the same options here, and also the keys work the same: add, replace, add, subtract, and intersect. And it has only two further options: anti-aliasing, same function, and feather edges. Here I get the radius, how much this gradient should go, and I deselect it now. I want to select, as an example, this lower part here of the sleeve, and I just click into the image where I want to start the selection and draw a line. And now I try to follow this here. Not very good, isn't it? There are better ways, by the way, but just let me show you this here. It's a bit awkward because I'm using now my trackball. I use a Wacom tablet in normal circumstances, but the Wacom tablet doesn't work in the recording software. So now I have selected this here. I can fine-tune this by just zooming into the edge here and going back to selection, and now of course add to the current selection, and go here and select this here and this, go back. It's important always to go back when you do it this way here. I stop now. The algorithm looks for the shortest way to the point where you started the selection. So I always go a bit back, and then you see it. But this is tedious. And we have a possibility of a rescue here. We have quick mask. Here on the bottom left corner is option toggle quick mask, and I toggle that, and you see now my whole image is red. Okay, it's red and red where my selection isn't, and it's red where my leaf is. Dump option, it only has red here, but right clicking here gives me configure color and opacity, and I can select here the color and set that, let's say, to blue. And now everything that is selected is not blue as the natural color, and all the stuff that isn't selected is blue. And now I can just take a pen and this brush here, and sorry, I have to change my colors. When I paint not with blue but with white, I change the colors between fore and background with the key X. And when I paint with white in the image, I select, and I'm overdoing it here. And when I paint with black, I deselect. I'll show you that in a moment, while I'm using just the right size of pencil you see here. So let's get that a bit bigger, a bit smaller, sorry. So selecting and deselecting. And when I untoggle this here, you see the selection is there. You see here is a mistake with the selection, and here also. Just re-click here and paint over that here and there too. Fixed. So the quick mask is an easy way to get a complicated selection right in little parts or even in big parts. When you can paint something easily, you can use the quick selection as a tool. It's a great tool. You can change here more. You can change the opacity of the marks here, of the mask. Here you see now it's barely visible, or you can get much more of that, so you can barely see the stuff behind that. And 50% is about right in most cases, I think. And red, or another color, it depends on your image which color you choose for this here. There's another option here, mask selected areas. Just turns the way around the selection algorithm here works. Now the selected stuff is painted blue, and the unselected stuff is in the natural colors. This is better in this case here to do it this way than the other way around. Don't forget to switch back by unselecting the quick mask, and here you have the selection. And now let's just pretend that I have made a perfect selection here, and I want to keep the selection, and I need it next time. But if I do anything else here now with selection tools or so, I will lose it. There's a way. Just go to Select and then Save to Channel. I said selections are basically channels, and here we can put this selection into a channel mask. And here I can just call it mask 1, and it will be stored with the XCF file. So now I'll deselect everything, Shift Control A, select another part, deselect it again, and when I go back to my selection here, I can say channel to selection, or add to selection, or subtract from selection, or even intersect with selection. Let's do that here, and my selection is back here. So if you have selected a part of the image and want to save that, just go to Select and Save to Channel. Before I say goodbye, I want to say welcome to the lot of people from Poland who visited my site lastly, and who came after Marcin posted a thing about Meet the GIMP in some Polish forums. And you see this here, there's a big leap in page views. This is about 500 here, 500 page views a day. And today, here on 28th of October, the first stuff from Norway started to tickle in, and welcome to you too. And so, after these two welcomes and a big thank you to all who are supporting me with postings and writing me some emails at info@meetthegimp.org, or posting comments at meetthegimp.org, or are contributing to the photo group, you'll find the link on the homepage meetthegimp.org. Here there are some new photos here. For example, this looks like a stretch limo, but it's a result of a liquid rescale. So with this big thank you, I say goodbye and see you in a week.
Photocastnetwork.com, your photography resource in the potosphere. Photocastnetwork.com